Hello, everyone, and welcome to the most watched satirical wrestling news show that I host. So says Shernoff. It is so good to have you here with me. I am Josh Shernoff, and we have got a fun one for you today. But before we get started, a big congratulations goes out to friend of the show and man who I will never let forget that I beat in his first match, Mr. Rich Swann. Rich recently defeated Moose to unify the Impact World Championship with the TNA World Championship. And I just can't help but feel like if Rich Swann is technically TNA champion, well, that kind of makes me an honorary TNA champion as well, seeing as I did, in fact, beat him. So for those keeping track, I am proud to announce that I am not only the honorary Cruiser X champion, but now the TN Impact World Champion as well. Congratulations to Rich and, of course, myself. And with that, let's jump into some headlines. We begin this month with a real knee slapper of a story. You'll see what I did there in a second. It's been reported that Vince McMahon and WWE will be fining wrestlers who are caught slapping their thigh when delivering a kick to an opponent. I mean, this is traditionally done to create the sound of a stiff kick, something that works really well when done correctly and not at all when done poorly. And while this looks to just be the latest hair in McMahon's ass, it's the fining of the talent that raises eyebrows. Why do you need signs up in the arena and the threat of fines? If you tell them not to do it, they need to just listen. These are your employees. It's not like they're independent contractors. Well, now, okay. You know who this is most upsetting for? Fathers of young children. I mean, if I can't throw a kick and slap my thigh every time I walk past my kids, how will it make a sound? Is the WWE suggesting I really super kick my children? Because, I mean, that would be terrible. I mean, I'll do it because if it doesn't make a sound, how will anyone cheer me? But I am not going to enjoy it. And speaking of being a horrible parent, don't make your kids grow up in a home with WWE Adirondack chairs. I mean, they may think it's cool, but this is not the example you want to set for them. The reality is they serve no purpose, and the Adirondack chair is objectively one of the least comfortable chairs a person can sit on. So even if your thought process was, well, this is, the wrestling room, this is where we sit and watch wrestling, wouldn't it be cool to have a chair of The Undertaker with my own name on it or my child's name on it? But it's uncomfortable. Who the hell wants to sit for a 40-hour WrestleMania in an Adirondack chair? And I mentioned you putting your name on it. Listen, don't do that. Just don't do that. I mean, these are not cool. These are not fun. These are absolutely ridiculous and not worth the literal pain in the ass that an Adirondack chair with John Cena's face on it will cause. So AEW had an exploding ring barbed wire death match, only the ring didn't explode. That would be like going on a log flume, only when you hit the bottom, it's just some guy standing there with a Dixie cup full of water throwing it in your face. I mean, look, I understand that things didn't work out, but my God, I mean, Meltzer had a bigger explosion during the match itself than they had at the end of it. But I will say this, AEW covered it very, very well, and that's mostly thanks to Eddie Kingston's incredible ability to deliver on the microphone. The match itself was excellent. Meltzer even claimed it may have been the best exploding ring death match ever up until the end, and that says nothing because it's Dave Meltzer, and he's the most biased person to ever report on wrestling. But regardless, it was still good. It was a good match that unfortunately has been tainted by the finish. In fact, the entire show has been tainted by the finish, and that's a shame, because it was actually a really, really good show. And I hope that all the Monday morning bookers will respect the fact that things just didn't go as planned and give them another shot. One of the many things that got overshadowed by the botched finish of the pay-per-view was the debut of Christian Cage. Now, some people thought it was incredible. Other people thought it was very reminiscent of TNA. But one thing is for sure, it got people talking. Because Christian was referred to as being someone who is Hall of Fame worthy, yet never inducted into the Hall of Fame. And while the list of Hall of Fame worthy people to have never been inducted into the WWE's Hall of Fame is quite long, Christian should not be on that list. That man should be in the Hall of Fame. But there's another man out there who feels that he should not be on that list either. In fact, he feels so strongly that he should be a Hall of Famer that he took to social media in a perhaps tongue-in-cheek post announcing his induction into the 2021 Hall of Fame. And that man is Virgil. Yes, Virgil posted on his Instagram account, quote, "Blessed. Can't wait to be a part of the 2021 class. Of all my accomplishments this month, this has been one of them. I have been to the top of the mountain, to the back of a parking lot, waiting for this as one of the things that will allow me to eat more beef for forevermore. Between me slamming Andre, ending Goldberg's streak, inventing the NWO, and having a relationship with Major Guns, my life feels average at best. Let's get that brass onion ring." Days later, when Eric Bischoff was announced as an actual inductee into the Hall of Fame, Virgil posted this picture announcing himself as Eric's inductor, saying, quote, "What was once a reality is now a dream, and a thought that could only be brought to the world once the greatest mind in the sports industry who revolutionized a movement that was so powerful that it created an explosion of taste buds like a Gorgonzola mountain of gnocchi that squirted pesto into your loins." I can't stress enough how important and influential I am, and will only consider any accolades of positivity if I get paid. So with this, I must think about a few things. For one, what will the catering look like that night? 2, should I let Scott Hall feel like I didn't make his career? 3, do I tell the world how I was the brains behind Eric, or let them have his moment? Either way, I am happy to induct him. Just need some cash. Congrats, Eazy-E. Man, the balls on that guy. Well, that's it for headlines. When we return, I have a thing or two I'd like to get off my chest, so stay tuned for Shernoff's Soapbox. We will be right back. From the hit podcast Mind of the Meanie comes the brand new Mind of the Meanie action figures by Cella Toys. A 2-pack featuring former WWE superstar and ECW original, the Blue Meanie, and his Mind of the Meanie co-host Josh Shernoff with removable microphone. These figures feature 3 points of articulation and incredible likenesses. These retro-style figures can be purchased outside the U.S. at cellatoys.net and inside the U.S. over at mindofthemeanie.com. With only 1,000 made, this collectible 2-pack won't be around for long, so pre-order now. The Mind of the Meanie action figures by Cella Toys. Order now. Welcome back to the show. You know, every once in a while, there's something in the news that just gets me so riled up that I need to step up on my soapbox and let you know how I feel. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Shernoff's Soapbox. Today, I want to talk about 2 people. First, Jim Cornette, seen here watching young talent meet his wife. Cornette has gotten into some trouble with Miro and Kip Sabian over comments directed at Sabian's wife and AEW star Penelope Ford. Cornette referred to Ford as a slut, among other things, and in a nutshell, Miro and Sabian were justifiably offended by Cornette and his comments, so they responded. Cornette responded back, and at the end of the day, everybody called everybody names and no one was better for it. But the blame is hands down on Jim Cornette. I mean, honestly, man, it's enough with the bashing everyone and everything associated with AEW. You don't like the show, don't watch it. You're offended that it makes a mockery of the wrestling business? Well, every time you go online or go on your show and call out AEW for what they do wrong, you yourself are exposing the business you claim to want to protect. But there's more to it than that. You're insulting Penelope Ford based on her past relationship with Joey Janela. And I get it. You don't like the guy. There are few heterosexual men that saw him with Penelope Ford and liked the guy. It's called jealousy, Jim. But number one, pointing out one relationship she had prior to the one she's currently in with her husband isn't really a great example of her being a slut. And number two, and this is more important than number one, how is her dating life any of your business? Any of your concern, or in any way related to her ability to perform in the ring? How is it a reflection on the wrestling company she works for? The reality is your comments are cheap. They're a way to try and make yourself relevant, and I get you might think it's all in good fun, and the cult of Cornette loves to listen to it, but these are real people. You're not saying she's a bad wrestler, you're insulting her character. And I'm not talking about her character on TV. I'm talking about her, the human being. This is a nice young woman trying to make a living. She's not hurting you or anybody else, so why do you feel the need to go off on her? Look, I'm not friends with Penelope Ford. I barely know her, but we have met on a few occasions, and you would be hard-pressed to find a more decent and respectful person to have in your locker room. To insult her and insult Miro's accent on top of that, I'd like to say it's beneath you, but apparently it's not. So Jim, just stop. I know you won't, but you should. And you should apologize. If Penelope Ford botches a move and you feel obligated to call her out on that, then fine, whatever. That's whatever you want to do. Be the Kentucky Dave Meltzer, but leave the human beings out of this. It's rude, it's mean, and it's just unnecessary. Now, the second person I want to talk about is the guy I just referenced, and I have referenced a lot in recent months. Dave Meltzer, seen here being an asshole. Just the other day, Dave tweeted the following: "If you watch New Japan Pro Wrestling tonight, realize Kevin Kelly got up this morning probably at 3 a.m. or so to do a show, and on the same day is doing a show from 1 to 4 a.m. So if by chance he stumbles over a word and you want to complain, please die." He has since deleted the tweet, but man, that is not okay. I mean, I'm honestly at a loss for what to even say. It's infuriating. You put yourself on this high horse and claim that everyone and their grandmother reads your dirt sheet, that every promoter learned the business from reading your garbage. And if that's true, that you have such a reach, such a voice, then acknowledge that your words can carry weight and have power. You know the old saying, with great power comes great responsibility. Look, do I agree that people shouldn't be hard on an announcer for being less than 100%? Yes, I agree. It's a hard frickin' job. But you know who makes a living pointing out when announcers aren't at 100%? You! You egotistical, sad excuse for a man to tell someone, anyone, that they should die. If they want to complain over this, over him stumbling over lines, that's unforgivable. I've had fun on this show calling you out for your stupid star ratings and your socially inept behavior, but this crosses a line. You're not funny. You're not witty. You're an insensitive asshole. And taking down your tweet doesn't absolve you of the fact that you encouraged people to possibly kill themselves, or just made light of the fact that maybe they could die during, a worldwide pandemic. Remember the tears you shed for Hana Kimura? Well, when you're done drying your eyes, take a good long look in the mirror and realize that she died because someone thought it would be fun to go online and tell her to kill herself. You're a disgrace to the business you claim to love, but often seem to hate. And if not for the fact that you work for yourself, you would have and should have been canceled a long time ago. And while, again, you did delete this post, and you did make a point to say things like, quote, just trying to let people understand how difficult his day is today, and, quote, that was the point I was making. The one thing I couldn't find on your Twitter feed was an apology. So in closing, Dave Meltzer, on this day, as a human being, I give you -5 stars. And if that seems too harsh, remember, just like the majority of the pontification you present as journalism, star ratings mean nothing. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe you've become so accustomed to the knowledge that your words are meaningless. Well, congratulations, Dave. Something you wrote finally mattered. We'll be right back. From the hit podcast Mind of the Meanie comes the brand new Mind of the Meanie action figures by Cella Toys. A 2-pack featuring former WWE superstar and ECW original, the Blue Meanie, and his Mind of the Meanie co-host Josh Shernoff with removable microphone. These figures feature 3 points of articulation and incredible likenesses. These retro-style figures can be purchased outside the U.S. at cellatoys.net and inside the U.S. at instagram.com/jbtoys1. With only 1,000 made, this collectible 2-pack won't be around for long, so pre-order now. The Mind of the Meanie action figures by Cella Toys. Order now. That's our show. Don't forget to follow us on social media at So Says Shernoff and at Shernoff Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/So Says Shernoff. Also, don't forget to check out my podcast with the Blue Meanie every Monday morning, wherever you listen to your podcast, but also every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern in video form right here on Fight. We have a lot of fun. It's kind of ridiculous. Also, Meanie and I will be hosting the Meanie Mania post-show extravaganza live here on Fight April 10th and 11th, immediately following WrestleMania. So if you like seeing this face, you're in luck. And if you don't, why are you still watching? This has been So Says Shernoff, because that is what Shernoff had to say. We'll see you next week.